Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for clicking on another video. I hope you're having a fantastic day. I'm not going to lie to you, I have no idea what I was going to do today in terms of a video. It kept getting later and later and later, and I generally couldn't think of anything to talk about until just about 30 seconds ago. I get a lovely little notification from Xbox on my phone to tell me that EA Play are adding a bunch of new games to the Game Pass. Naturally, as I am a Game Pass holder, I went, yeah, sure, we'll have a look. The main purpose being is that they've dropped F1 2020. Now, I know 2021 is out, and it's been getting some very good reviews. However, I haven't got the money to buy 2021. I haven't played the game since 2019, which I did enjoy, so I'm downloading F1 2020. Which brings me on to Formula 1. I don't know how this is going to go down, but screw it. I am a huge fan of Formula 1. I've been an F1 fan probably since like early noughties and stuff like that. I can remember watching it with my dad. I can remember having one of the oldest gaming memories I have was playing F1 2000 on the PS1. And despite the fact I've always been a Ferrari fan, and I became a Ferrari fan because of Michael Schumacher, I would always pick Jaguar only because I loved the Jaguar livery. I was having Eddie Irvine as a driver as well. You know, I just loved everything Jaguar back in the day and stuff like that. But it brings us on to, the games have been a very hit and miss in the Formula 1 community and in the racing community. When you can think of the high points of F1 2010, 2011, 2012 were at their peak of being fantastic F1 games. And over the years, they've sort of gone a bit up and down and stuff like that. Sometimes, especially with something like I can't remember if it was 2018 or 2019 that first introduced the little F2 story that you get and stuff like that. That was a little cool concept and stuff like that. I know with F1 2020 they introduced the My Career where you can create your own car. That I'm looking forward to doing. Whether or not I do any playthroughs on it is a completely another question. But the last couple of years and everything, the F1 franchise has definitely gotten better, with Codemasters teaming with EA and stuff like that. They haven't really slacked, and I know there was a lot of, especially a lot of hype with F1 2021 coming out a couple of months ago, and there was a lot of talk, the fact that a lot of the content wouldn't be available on launch day, like certain tracks wouldn't be available right from the very start and stuff like that, and that sort of rubbed people up the wrong way, and I do get why they probably don't and everything, because releasing content over time is fine, but at the end of the day you should have a fully functioning game and everything. Especially with Formula 1, every track needs to be on there before the game needs to be released. It's as simple as that. So I'm hoping that issue did get fixed and stuff. I haven't heard anything else from it, but I'm really I love 2018. I absolutely adore 2019. I'm hoping to adore 2020 as well. And then eventually I will end up getting 2021, and we'll see what all the buzz is about on that. But in terms of just in general, with Formula 1 and everything, there's been a lot of controversy this year in regards to two certain drivers. And I'll give my 2 cents a little bit on them. The two in question, for people that are not Formula 1 fans, it is Sir Lewis Hamilton, and Max Verstappen. Now, we knew going into this year that it was literally only going to be these two competing and stuff like that. With the driver changes, with Sergio Perez taking over at Red Bull, Bottas obviously staying with Mercedes, which is obviously kind of controversial, but at the same time, there's clearly a reason why. Carlos Sainz moving to Ferrari, which for me as a Ferrari fan, absolutely love the signing and stuff like that. Aston Martin coming back into the sport with Vettel and Lance Stroll. It was a good year and stuff like that. And the thing with me being a Ferrari fan and stuff like that is that there's absolutely no expectations this year for this car and stuff like that. Every race, whether Charles put it on pole, whether Carlos has finished in the podium places and stuff like that, they are overachieving with the car they've got. They knew this car was not going to be competitive and stuff like that. That's why they call Leclerc at the moment Mr. Saturday, because he'll put it on pole. in a Friday, the first practice on a Friday and everything, normally the top 3 cars are Max, Charles, and Carlos. Over time, obviously, the next 2 practice sessions, then you get Lewis and Valtteri come into it. So, as a Ferrari fan, I'm gassing everything over just how well they've been doing, and the fact that they've managed to hold close to Lando as well, who's absolutely stormed it and stuff like this year. But the main point being, obviously, what was going to happen with Max and Lewis. And they've literally traded victories and stuff like that. And we'll have to talk about the incident that happened at the British Grand Prix a few weeks ago now, at the time of recording this. A very, very controversial move. Some very controversial comments. And a lot of siding on the F1 community, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on TikTok. TikTok went batshit over this as well. But here's my 2 cents on it. It is nothing more than a racing incident. Now, I don't agree with Lewis's side, I don't agree with Max's side. It is legitimately just a racing incident and stuff like that. He's trying to make a turn. Yes, it's one of the fastest turns at Silverstone. He's trying to make a cut on the inside and stuff like that. There's no way he brakes and lets Max through, because if he does that, the car coming behind him will go straight into the back of Lewis, and then rather than having 1 car go off the track, we're having 4, 5, 6 cars going off the track and stuff like that, much like what happened at Hungary a few weeks ago. So with that in mind, everything, I mean, the fact that Max was able to stand up at the end of it, I mean, a 51G crash is unreal. And for people that don't know what that means and everything, I'm still somewhat learning like the terminology with Formula 1, even though I've watched it for so long. A G is the equivalent of your body weight and stuff like that. So when you go around a corner at 1G, it's your body weight on top of you and stuff like that. If you go around a 2G corner, it's like having 2 of you. Max crashed at 51G, which is 51 times his body weight was the impact on him. Now that theoretically should kill a man. But, you know, with how safety cautious Formula 1 is nowadays and stuff like that, obviously he lived. But here was my 2 cents on the whole thing, and I had some guy try to come at me on Twitter about this and stuff like that. With Formula 1, they've always wanted the racing to be as close as possible. You know, they want to have cars that are quick in a straight line and stuff like that are going to be for overtaking and stuff like that. Wheel-to-wheel racing, that's what Formula 1 fans want. The moment there is a bit of wheel-to-wheel racing and someone comes off worse of it, suddenly you have to pin the blame. And for me, that legitimately makes no sense. If it's a legitimate attack move, kind of like in Hungary with Stroll on Charles Leclerc, which if you see that crash and you don't think... I mean, yes, he does lose control, but Stroll legit doesn't try going off anywhere. He just goes straight and plows into Charles, losing him his race. The incident between the two of them, it's a coming together. At the end of the day, you just need to leave it at that. Neither side should have made the comments. You know, Christian Horner was out of line, Max was out of line, Toto was out of line, Lewis was out of line. They all were. It should have literally just been, look, they came together, one come off at the end of it. At the end of the season, we know for a fact in the Netherlands, I can guarantee you that Max will reclaim his receipt. And for some wrestling terminology there, a receipt is when someone basically almost like gives you like a pounding and stuff like that. So they legitimately hurt you and everything. You earn that receipt to then hurt them back and stuff like that. I do think Max will be spiteful and do that, and I reckon he will do it in the Netherlands because he's going to have his home fans support and stuff like that. That's just my opinion. Whether it'll be a malicious way of done it or he'll do it in the same way he did Stroll last year, where he did a similar sort of thing to what Lewis did, but on a lower speed corner, who knows? But he will definitely get his comeuppance and everything. It may even be the fact that he wins the World Championship and stuff like that from Lewis and gloats in his face. Either way, he'll get his receipt back. But I think up until this point, the Formula 1 season has been very good to watch. Yes, I know it's quite boring seeing the same 2 drivers constantly winning and stuff like that. But I'll tell you one thing, Hungary had probably the best race of this season was a few weeks ago in Hungary. The fact that you had both Williams finishing in the points, and obviously they got upped as well. Vettel finishing in the podiums as well. I know he's been disqualified. I know it's been appealed and they've lost it, but it's a credit to him. Having a racer like Esteban Ocon, who so deserves a seat in a bigger team and stuff like that. See him win his first race, absolutely phenomenal and stuff like that. You know, Lewis thinking, oh, do you know what, I'm going to start the race on when they restarted on the Inters and stuff like that, and every single person going into the pits and stuff like that. you know, that's a 7-time world champion and stuff like that. And even at that point, he still makes mistakes. He came out and he said about it and stuff like that. Definitely for me, Hungary has been in the race of the season and stuff like that. And it is interesting to see where you go with Formula One now, because we've already seen what the cars are going to look like for next year. There are a lot of talks about it becoming like a supplier type thing, like the cars are going to look exactly the same and stuff like that. So how are they going to run, all that sort of stuff, and it's going to be quite boring. I don't see it that way. I think the cost caps coming into Formula One are a good thing. And I think it does give like the teams like Williams and Haas, I know next year are planning for their car next year rather than this year. It gives the smaller teams a proper chance and stuff like that, you know. And you know, Formula One has always been about if you spend more money, then you win the races. Hence the reason why Mercedes have won. You know, Lewis is a 7-time world champion. Obviously, 5 or 6 of those have been with Mercedes. They've won constructors after constructors after constructors for year on year on year. Red Bull obviously did it 4 years in a row with Sebastian Vettel. You know, it's always been a money sport and stuff like that. But we're coming into a year now, which is meant to be this year, but obviously they pushed it back because of COVID, that we're actually going to have an equal playing field between the drivers and stuff like that. And there'll be no more, oh, well, this car's faster, well, that car's faster and stuff like that. It's a case of, most of the cars are built exactly the same way. Whatever money you decide to put into a certain part of the vehicle is showing how far you go ahead in a race and stuff like that. So I'm very much looking forward to next year. You know, we'll see how this season plays out and stuff. Like I said, I do think Max will win the World Championship this year. I think it's nothing more than he deserves. The fact that people criticise him for being cocky and stuff like that, I mean, you know, he started Formula One when he was 17 years of age and he didn't even have a driving licence. He's the youngest Formula One winner, I believe. I think he did. Yeah, I think he did take that from Sebastian Vettel. The kid's got something about him and stuff like that, you know. And, you know, you want to moan at him for being cocky and stuff like, well, Michael Schumacher was cocky his entire career. I know he won 7 world championships, but he was cocky throughout his entire career. You go back to the older days with someone like James Hunt, who was extremely cocky. You know, Ayrton Senna backed up his comments off the track, on the track, you know. People like Prost as well. Everyone in Formula One has an identity and stuff like that. And just because Max is a bit show-offy and stuff like that, doesn't mean he's any worse of a driver because of it. Sure, he likes to have a shouting match with someone and everything. I don't see anything wrong with that. You know, the one thing I would say, I mean, if he's going to have to resort to doing it too much, and then, yeah, he's going to earn himself a reputation. But what he has done and everything is, you know, if there was ever a shadow cast over him from his father, Jos, he's definitely, you know, outgrown that shadow. You know, he is now the shadow for his father and stuff like that, because he's done stuff his father never did. I want Max to continue being like that because he's a personality. He's one of the reasons why you tune in to watch Formula One and stuff like that. Because as much as it is about the cars, it's about the drivers as well. And if you've got cocky drivers and everything, people gravitate towards them. That's why people gravitate towards Max. So I'm very much looking forward to the end of this season and stuff like that. Like I said, I do think Max will win. Lewis has now signed a 2-year deal, so obviously he's not going anywhere just yet. Driving predictions, I can do another video on that and stuff like that with some actual Formula One driving behind that and stuff like that. But yeah, like, I generally had nothing. I've been sitting at my desk for about 4 hours now thinking of something to do, and I'm glad Xbox just happened to pop up on my phone and say you can now download this, because I now have some content for you guys. So if you've got to the end of the video, I would greatly appreciate if you like it as well. Subscribe down below. Leave a comment as well if you're Formula One fans, if you want me to continue doing some Formula One stuff. I'm happy to do it. I absolutely love the sport and stuff like that. So if you do like that and if you want to see me do that and everything, leave the comments down below. Or anything you want to say and everything, just leave it all down there. I'll read anything. Let's all go for that. Thank you very much, guys, and I'll speak to you soon. Peace.